Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Swallowed Star based on novel. So let's start. Primal Universe Human, Yang Chun. Requirements met. East Emperor Holy Land, Ziwei Kai. Requirements met. Duandong River stood at the front of the corridor, where he had, unexpectedly, remained for a long time. The number of those who had reached the first bottleneck had entered a stage of explosive growth in the blink of an eye. It had shot past 100 and was still soaring. Seeing how the others were passing the first bottleneck one after another, Luofeng was not at all bothered. He continued to follow his own method of studying the Rhinoceros Emperor game at his leisure. Time passed. In the 3900th year since Luofeng had accepted the inheritance, the number of life forms breaking through the first bottleneck grew the fastest. After that, the rate gradually slowed down. At the start of the 5200th year, there was not a single being who was able to pass the first bottleneck. Is this your ultimate limit? Duandong River shook his head and said coldly, only 298 of you have managed to break through the first bottleneck. Luofeng, who was being enveloped by the palace radiating red and golden light rays, opened his eyes and nodded discreetly. For the Rhinoceros Emperor game, it did not necessarily mean that the more time spent decoding, the more stages would be decoded. Many undying godly spirits present at the corridor had limited potential. Some universe knights might never be able to achieve a breakthrough in their entire lifetime. Those who just wanted to pass the first bottleneck had certainly found it to be an extremely difficult task. At that moment, out of the 298 beings who had passed the first bottleneck, the 7 Universe Supreme Masters had all met the challenge. All the Universe Masters had reached the first bottleneck, while a few undying godly spirits and a handful of Universe Knights had met the requirements. Of course, Luofeng was the only one who had reached the second bottleneck. Heh! Duandong River suddenly looked in a certain direction, then smiled with a nod. East Emperor Holy Land Blue Blood has passed the second bottleneck. It seems like this time around, the ones with the highest hopes of receiving the inheritance of the pulse of my Duandong River will be you and that human Milky Way. You have to try your best. Do not slack off. Blue Blood Knight bowed. Understood, Lord Duandong River. At the same time, a crystal pillar emerged from the ground of the corridor right beside him. The crystal pillar was bursting with light rays, combining to form a red palace and a golden palace. The red and golden beams radiated, then moved over to enshroud Blue Blood Knight. The combination of red and golden rays was in harmony with Luofeng's red and golden palace in the distance. Luofeng gave a slight frown. Blue Blood Knight, Luofeng softly chanted to himself. Blue Blood Knight. East Emperor Holy Land's fate is in your hands. The Universe Masters from East Emperor Holy Land were all overjoyed and excited. So long as one of them, no matter who, could get that inheritance, that would almost be the same as the entire Holy Land owning it. Blue Blood Knight also smiled at the great beings around him. This inheritance would be the greatest opportunity in his lifetime. It would change his destiny. Prior to this, he was always considered ordinary among the countless great beings of East Emperor Holy Land. He was only a member of the group of Universe Masters to be. Because there was a limit to the number of Universe Masters that East Emperor Holy Land universe could accommodate, when so many Universe Masters coexisted in a same Holy Land, those who belonged to the group of Universe Masters to be would never be able to achieve a breakthrough. They would never be able to receive provisions from the Holy Land universe origin to achieve a breakthrough. From Knight to Universe Master, the amount of godly power being consumed was alarming. Without the provision from the origin, this transition would not be possible. He, Blue Blood Knight, had gone from an awkward Universe Master to be to a most sensational, high-positioned status within the whole East Emperor Holy Hand, and all of it had happened in such a short period of time. He had surpassed any other Universe Master or Universe Supreme Master. Even East Emperor Ancestor had made a personal appearance to meet him to give him words of encouragement. The Rhinoceros Emperor game has already proven your potential. This time around, even if you do not receive the inheritance, in the future, you will still receive the best training from my Holy Land. Do not feel stressed. Just try your best. If you perform well enough this time around, your potential is boundless. I shall not hesitate to help you at all costs, to help you become a universe supreme master, or even to help you transcend a reincarnation era. East Emperor Ancestor's promise had long set Blue Blood Knight's desires ablaze. The burning passion that had lain dormant for so long was ignited once again. He felt as though he was back in his years as a youth, that period where he could go on battling, filled with that fighting spirit. Becoming a universe supreme master? I thought only the primal universe was able to breed universe supreme masters. Could it be that Ancestor had a way, too? That must be it. Duandong River left an inheritance of his pulse, so naturally, he wanted his descendants to continue to cultivate and elevate his inheritance. If even a universe supreme master cannot achieve that, it would be ridiculous. If an ancient civilization could have such a technique, then if Ancestor were to pay a higher price, he could probably achieve the same thing. Blue Blood Knight knew that this was his greatest stroke of luck. His chance for a new life. Even if he were to fail, so long as he could prove his potential, prove how promising his potential was, East Emperor Ancestor would be willing to reverse time and space to resurrect him, train him, and allow him to cultivate anew. Success. That Luo Feng means nothing at all. I have kept silent for countless years, for I am not qualified enough to enter Universe Ocean, so I have stayed insignificant and passive, waiting for a chance like this. My one true chance for a new life. I will grasp onto it with dear life. Blue Blood Knight seemed indifferent on the surface, but in his heart, he was in a state of craziness. For such a change to appear before him, he had to hold on to it like a drowning man clinging a life preserver. All his passion would be set ablaze. He would set his whole life ablaze. All his wisdom, all his potential, would burst out at this very moment. In the space of the black-striped stone pillars, the towering, black-striped stone pillars pierced all the way to the topmost, deepest end of the clouds. The entire area exuded boundless oppressive willpower, as if billions of blood-stained, black-armored troops were charging forward with murderous intentions amidst loud roars. This was the place where Luo Feng stayed to hone his willpower. His Mosha body always remained here, in the same spot. The surroundings were free from other great beings, and although the area had 16 black-striped stone pillars, almost every great being would be gathered around the number 2 pillar. There, they could frequently listen to Bei Kai Star Master's teachings. Luo Feng's location was always desolated and quiet. A single stone would sometimes leave the gigantic rock to float in midair as it slowly drifted toward the black-striped stone pillar, albeit extremely slowly. Kill. 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 Endless roars rang out. The impact of willpower was like a series of tidal waves, exerting oppression over Luo Feng's willpower. Usually, while studying the Rhinoceros Emperor game and secret techniques, his Mosha body would fly over to a gigantic rock in the distance or even retreat to the borderline region of the gigantic rock. The impact of willpower was smallest there, which would help in blocking out external influences during training sessions. As for honing his willpower, he would do his best to force himself close to his ultimate limit. Under such an ultimatum, he would hone his willpower. This would enable him to be fully focused, as there was no way he could be distracted during cultivation if he was subjected to such a limit. Roar. The stone started to wriggle and transform, changing into a naked man whose skin was covered with complex space secret engravings. Mosha body, if killed under unique circumstances, would reveal its original form, and at this moment, the space secret engravings on the man's skin were returning to their original form. It was the form in which Mosha body was most at ease, without any burden. At this moment, under the ultimate oppression, he had reached the critical point. Mosha body was no longer able to control himself as he regained his original form. Almost. Luo Feng's willpower was roaring. Roaring with rage. He had a feeling that he was going to break through that ultimate limit. He was so close to a breakthrough that he had never experienced before. I want my breakthrough. Luo Feng's willpower was roaring furiously. Like thunder and lightning strikes. It was as though the endlessly chaotic world had changed into the billions of stars within the universe in an instant, countless living souls. At that moment, Luo Feng's willpower was cheering and jumping with joy. He was feeling delightfully satisfied, like a fish flying out of the vast ocean or a bird soaring about in the boundless sky. Or a trapped dragon god who had finally struggled its way out of the shallow shores to fly up to the celestial skies, where it could wander without restraint. This was a bout of willpower that was incomparably powerful, and it was exuded from that naked Moshe body. Ha ha ha, a black robe was quick to gather and cover the Moshe body as he laughed with great pleasure. Advance. Moshe body advanced at high speed and charged toward the black-striped stone pillars as it continuously forced himself to challenge his new limit. The time velocity continuously soared by leaps and bounds, and it got faster and faster. 12,000 times. When Luo Feng felt that time velocity had reached a rate of 12,000 times, he started to feel the toil. He knew then that he was already quite close to his ultimate limit. I heard Bei Kai Star Master is strongest when it comes to honing willpower, and where he is, the time velocity rate is actually more than 130,000 times. There is always someone better out there. Luo Feng smiled. Thereafter, he backtracked and flew to a place where the time velocity was approximately 6,000 times before he stopped. The oppressive willpower at this place was merely like a gentle breeze blowing to Luo Feng, giving him a sense of comfort. It held no influence over his cultivation. My willpower is metamorphosing. With the powerful willpower in control of my consciousness, the speed of my deducing and mental abilities will be greatly increased. Studying the Rhinoceros Emperor game will definitely be much faster. Luo Feng was secretly rejoicing. Willpower would be the commander-in-chief, consciousness would be various generals, godly power would be the soldiers. The metamorphosis of willpower, be it for cultivation or for battle, always produced greatly beneficial results. At least for now, what Luo Feng felt was that if he were to receive the inheritance of the pulse of Duandong River, he could greatly benefit from it in two ways. 1. After his willpower achieved a breakthrough, would have more clout and therefore gain more confidence in receiving the inheritance. 2. His willpower would finally make it past the level of a Universe Supreme Master, and he would gain more confidence in getting that white pair of wings which had such formidable power to recognize him as its master. Haha. The breakthrough of my willpower is like a dragon rising up into the sky. Luo Feng was overjoyed. After the breakthrough, Luo Feng shifted all his focus and energy into studying the Rhinoceros Emperor game and secret techniques. He decided to take a break from honing his willpower for the time being. What satisfaction! It was obvious to him that now, when he was studying the Rhinoceros Emperor game, he could analyze and comprehend from various perspectives instantly. Numerous inspirations and thoughts would surge and gush in his mind. His efficiency was greatly increased, and the more he studied, the more connections he felt he had found between the strongest secret techniques of the Ninth Deep Abyss and the Rhinoceros Emperor game. Everything worked in harmony to his favor. Plus, his speed of studying was consistently soaring. In the virtual universe. The man in white robes was surprised as he turned to look at Luo Feng, who was not too far away. How long has he spent studying the Rhinoceros Emperor game? Spending 3,000 years, he decoded the first 2,000 stages, yet it did not take him another 10,000 or even another 1,000 years for him to decode the first 3,000 stages. Teacher Origin was taken aback. Because every set of 1,000 games was a new threshold, the difficulty level would soar by leaps and bounds. The first 2,000 stages took him 3,000 years. According to Teacher Origin's estimation, if Luo Feng could complete studying the first 3,000 stages within 30,000 years, that would already be a great achievement and could show his limitless potential. But who knew? The first 3,000 stages. Luo Feng stood before the virtual shadow of the endgame and watched in silence. In Huge Axe's miniature universe, his remote ocean body was trying his best to study and decode. For at that moment, his entire being seemed to enter the absolute peak of his comprehension state, where billions of thoughts were emerging. Various inspirations were colliding, and numerous problems were being decoded. Even some of the takeaways he gained from studying the strongest secret techniques of the Ninth Deep Abyss could be used as reference. In fact, Luo Feng personally felt that if he were to create a secret technique, given his achievement pertaining to diagrams of secret engravings, if he were to create a combination of secret techniques, It should not be such a great feat, it was just that he did not have any time to spare on creating secret techniques. Luo Feng's eyes lit up, and then, he smiled. Whenever the number of people exceeded 10,000, it would feel as though there was a sea of people. And yet close to 10,000 great beings of various clans from the universe boat had gathered in the life and death corridor. At first glance, it was, indeed, a dense crowd, and at that moment, all of them were in a heated discussion. After the human Milky Way horde leader and Blue Blood, the next to pass the second bottleneck was, unexpectedly, Water Song Master. This is an inconspicuous universe master from the second reincarnation era has managed to catch up with the progress. Water Song has extraordinary potential. The first reincarnation era and the two Holy Lands must be going crazy with rage. Especially the first reincarnation era. It would be weird if they did not go mad with rage. Ranked first three are from the Primal Universe, East Emperor Holy Land Universe, and the second reincarnation era, respectively. There might be the most candidates from the first reincarnation era, yet none have made it to the top three. The various clans were gasping with admiration. Done. Luo Feng was smiling as he stood before the crystal pillar. Just a while ago, he had perfectly decoded the 3000th endgame within that crystal pillar, the moment he had successfully decoded that stage. Luo Feng raised his head to look far away. Duandong River should be showing up any moment. Countless cyan light spots were consolidating in the air. The temperature of the surroundings plunged, which faintly caused everyone's souls to feel a freezing sensation, sending violent shudders to course through every great being present. All raised their heads to look, and what they could see in midair were countless cyan light spots that looked like snowflakes falling. What's wrong? Something big is going to happen. These countless cyan light spots that resembled snowflakes suddenly surged towards Luo Feng in a frenzy. The ground behind Luo Feng suddenly split apart, and another crystal pillar appeared. At that moment, Luo Feng had three towering crystal pillars surrounding him, and the countless cyan light spots rapidly consolidated to form another palace that enshrouded him. Golden, red, and cyan, a tricolored palace that was dazzling beyond comparison. At that moment, Luo Feng was like a king of an army of close to 10,000 great beings of the universe ocean. What? No. Seventh true master of Divine Eye clan let out a furious roar right away, his eyes filled with panic. The chance of transcending reincarnation belongs to my Divine Eye clan. It belongs to my Divine Eye clan. How detestable, I condemn you. An entrenched giant beast from the first reincarnation era cried tears of anguish as it let out a sorrowful roar. Are you bent on exterminating my entire Yang beast? Even our very last chance, you must deprive us of it. I can't bear to see this, I can't take it lying down. Desperation. All the great beings of the first reincarnation era were practically in despair. They were the majority of all the candidates present, and also the ones who desperately wanted to receive the inheritance because their doomsday was drawing near. If even this chance of inheritance was lost, they might be left with the path to annihilation. They were reluctant to be annihilated, so reluctant for the entire clan to disappear during this reincarnation era. They struggled. They fought. For this, they would do everything and anything, even if it meant bullying and insulting Luo Feng right from the very beginning. Even if it meant attacking him rampantly so as to affect his progress. But fate had made a mockery out of them. The scene before them clearly showed them that Luo Feng had already passed the third bottleneck. There were 4 bottlenecks, and if one managed to break through the 4th bottleneck, the inheritance could be claimed right away. There was no further need for competition. One who had obtained the inheritance at the 3rd bottleneck would take the identity of a core candidate. Compared to him, the rest were merely peripheral candidates who had passed the 1st bottleneck. The possibility that they would obtain the inheritance was almost negligible. Milky Way. A streak of white light appeared in midair, then transformed into the dazzling form of Duandong River, clothed in white, elegant armor. At that moment, Duandong River was no longer cold and aloof. On the contrary, he was dazzling. An era just passed. Duandong River closed his eyes, but tears were already falling. There was only silence. Every great being present raised his head to look at Duandong River. Only one era has passed. Duandong River said softly with a sigh. Even though time velocity was accelerated within the miniature universe, it was, nonetheless, only limited to 10,000 times. Yet you have managed to break through the third bottleneck. Never in my wildest dreams. On this road to desperation, after being forced to abandonment and finding myself on this road to desperation, I am still able to finally find a descendant like you. What? The expressions of every clan, every great being present, changed drastically. Could it be that Duandong River wanted to give Luo Feng the inheritance straight away? This would not do. I have done wrong to generations of ancestors. Duandong River shut his eyes as his body trembled. A look of anguish dominated his face as he slowly opened his eyes and looked at Luo Feng. I have done them wrong. It was me who sent all of Duandong River's pulse of bloodline falling into extermination. The pulse of Duandong River, which was incomparably noble and powerful, with countless eras of glory and fame, who once stood most dazzlingly on the apex of the world. But I have brought my pulse of bloodline into the ultimate severance. I am a sinner. But I had no choice. Duandong River looked at Luo Feng. You are apt to comprehend, and you are almost my equal in terms of ability. No matter what, at least for this generation of inheritance, I am able to find an heir, who does not pale in comparison to me. You, in only one era, have broken through the third bottleneck. He gazed at Luo Feng. Congratulations, Milky Way. Luo Feng held his breath. If you can move on to reach the fourth bottleneck, Duandong River's gaze swept over the crowd, they, one by one, will be eliminated and annihilated in celebration of your claim of the inheritance. Close to 10,000 great beings present were shocked. One by one, they would be annihilated. Previously, did Duandong River not say that so long as they met the requirements, they could continue? Now, it seemed that Duandong River was obviously not an honest man. Once he found his heir, the other candidates would be rendered useless. For 3 eras. Duandong River looked at Luo Feng. This time, the time taken to comprehend the Rhinoceros Emperor game was a total of 3 eras. Within these 3 eras, if you can break through to reach the fourth bottleneck, then even if I were to die, I would feel no shame toward generations of ancestors. Remember, within 3 eras. As Duandong River said his last line, his figure diminished and vanished. The entire corridor fell into silence again. Countless great beings looked toward Luo Feng. In their eyes was jealousy, insanity, admiration, shock, malice, hatred. For 3 eras? Is that it? Luo Feng shut his eyes and continued to put his full efforts into comprehending the Rhinoceros Emperor game. Year after year, time passed. Every few thousand years within the corridor, there would be one great being who managed to pass the second bottleneck after much difficulty. As for breaking through the first bottleneck, that was no longer in the picture. Apparently, the great number of undying godly souls and universe knights who were unable to achieve the breakthrough had reached their limits. They would not be able to achieve that breakthrough regardless of how much time they were given. Blue Blood Universe Knight. Only second to Luo Feng when he passed the second bottleneck. Water Song Master. He was ranked 3rd. Deer Bug Master. His outburst was what Purple Moon Holy Land was secretly looking forward to. Remote Snow. The only undying. Yuzon Master. East Emperor Holy Land's only hope. Sorcerer Sprite Master. She had unexpectedly broken through the second bottleneck, which was indeed a great surprise, as the Divine Eye clan had not expected her to be able to achieve the breakthrough with the deadline of 3 eras drawing close. It was indeed an unexpected surprise. The whole Divine Eye clan was so emotional that most were close to tears. Sorcerer Sprite Master, a lady, had accidentally become the greatest hope of their clan. Time flew by. 28,000 years, 28,500 years, 29,000 years. The final boundary of the 3 eras timeline was drawing near. Everyone was anxious, all feeling worried. They were worried that Luo Feng might really achieve a breakthrough and pass the fourth bottleneck. He won't make it. He definitely won't make it. If he did, then all hope would be lost. No more hope. He can't. I would rather die. I would rather Luo Feng be annihilated so that my clan has hope. The last glimmer of hope. Do not cut off my clan's last bit of hope. One by one, they were secretly praying. There were even universe masters who went crazy and tried to attack Luo Feng. As a result, the tricolored palace merely gave a brief tremor, and they were immediately annihilated, reduced to dust. In the virtual universe, the man in the white robe looked toward Luo Feng. He was truly taken aback. Luo Feng was improving at a terrifying rate. Throughout the decoding process of Rhinoceros Emperor game, he had seen Luo Feng's speed getting faster and faster. His ability to comprehend was continuously on the rise, and his aptitude was also progressing at a terrifying rate. Luo Feng was like a piece of scrap metal evolving into an extremely fine piece of steel. He found it unbelievable. The evolution of a great being could be that fast, especially towards the final stage, when Luo Feng was decoding stage after stage without a break, like the reincarnation of a phoenix upon its death. There was no stopping him. Luo Feng's ability to comprehend alarmed teacher Origin. Previously, he had only cultivated for a short period of time, mused teacher Origin, and this time around, studying for 30,000 years under an acceleration of 10,000 times time velocity, which makes it 30,000 eras. Is it because time is ample this time around? No, the past generations had seen many great beings cultivating for endless years, but the situation had never become so extreme before. Could it be that the pulse of Earthlings originally possessed something unique within their souls? And Luo Feng happens to be the most dazzling one of them all? Teacher Origin thought it through. The pulse on Earth was a very special one, as its state of mind was equipped with an extremely strong willpower. Once there was comprehension achieved, breakthrough would be fast. Sitting Mountain Guest remodeled Earth, thus bringing about changes to a portion of my human race. This portion of humans now constitutes the pulse of Earthlings. With a frown, Teacher Origin thought, throughout the primal universe, or even throughout the entire universe ocean, what I have yet to gain a thorough look of other than the ancestors of the two holy lands who have yet to show themselves within the universe ocean is this Sitting Mountain Guest. Sitting Mountain Guest. What plans did he have? Everything about Luo Feng is related to him. Previously, he took Flame Emperor under his wing, and later, there was also PUT. Teacher Origin pondered. He was the creator of the virtual universe. The virtual universe enveloped the entire primal universe. It was magical. It was not as simple as it seemed on the surface. Teacher Origin knew many secrets and mysteries, but there were still many that he could not wrap his mind around. Sitting Mountain Guest was one person he could not fathom. Luo Feng was completely immersed in the world filled with Rhinoceros Emperor game and secret techniques. He had started out studying the Rhinoceros Emperor game as an amateur, but with the passing of time, by honing of willpower, his ability to comprehend was fundamentally improved through all the studying he was engaged in. For various reasons, he was addicted. Now, he was obsessed with studying the Rhinoceros Emperor game. The instantaneous interpretation, comprehension, and decoding from a million different perspectives. The exhilaration he got, as though he had figured out the secrets of the universe. As for his potential, under such a honing process, he was like a piece of jade gradually starting to radiate its brilliance. The 3890th stage, Luo Feng stopped for a breather and a sense of time. With a slight frown, he lamented, the time limit of 3 eras is drawing near. Am I able to make it in time? However, so, what if I cannot make it in time? The Rhinoceros Emperor game benefits me greatly. Even if I were to really come in contact with the inheritance, I have full confidence that I will be able to seize it. Luo Feng had a confidence that came from within. After close to 3 eras of honing, he had already brought both of his willpower and that comprehension that was so difficult to detect to an extremely intimidating level. East Emperor Holy Land's blue blood has broken through the 3rd bottleneck. Similarly, countless cyan light spots rained down to create an incomparably dazzling scene. Duandong River made his appearance. An heir of mine. I'm afraid, only you are able to fight with Milky Way now. The other candidates, unless they undergo repeated evolutions. Duandong River looked at Blue Blood Knight and encouraged. Keep working hard. Do not concede defeat so easily. Yes. Blue Blood Knight was deferential. He looked toward Luo Feng with an intimidating light in his eyes. That was absolute insanity. He was fighting on. Fighting on. The one and only chance of endless time had come. He was grasping onto it with his life. He would hold a tight rein over himself and give it his all. He was burning with passion. Before the limit of 3 eras arrived, he finally decoded the 3000th stage. Blue blood. Luo Feng took one look at Blue Blood Knight. He wants to fight me. The 3 eras finally came to an end. In the end, Luo Feng only managed to decode up to the 3911th stage. This was already an amazing feat after all. He had spent slightly more than 1 era to finally break through the 3rd bottleneck. With just 2 eras, it would be too difficult to break through the 4th bottleneck. Duandong River looked down at everyone and slowly announced. At the end of 3 eras, the selection through Rhinoceros Emperor game ends. 292 achieved a breakthrough of the 1st bottleneck. 5 achieved a breakthrough of the 2nd bottleneck. 2 achieved a breakthrough of the 3rd bottleneck. The great beings beneath Duandong River started shouting. We all arrived later than Milky Way and company. We should be given more time. True, do give us more time. Indeed, there were many who had arrived later than Luo Feng by half a year or even 1 to 2 years. Duandong River looked down and said coldly, even giving you all another era, I'm afraid none of you would have passed the 1st bottleneck. Even if you managed to pass the 1st bottleneck, what use would I have for you all? This inheritance, Milky Way, and Blue Blood are the most important. The other 5 who passed the 2nd bottleneck are, theoretically, still possible candidates. The rest of you are merely here to make up the number. As for all of you here, you did not even make it past the 1st bottleneck. According to the rules, all of you shall die. Duandong River made a wave. Golden light rays burst out from the numerous crystal pillars within the life and death corridor. That golden light could give rise to a palace. It could also be used to attack. Countless light spots attacked the great beings. In the blink of an eye, close to 10,000 great beings who were present were annihilated, reduced to dust. In the end, only near to 300 survived. The survivors, although taken aback by how powerful that force was, were all filled with anticipation. Rhinoceros Emperor game had finally come to an end. The next step would be to start getting in contact with the inheritance. This was the legendary inheritance from a pulse of Duandong River. The rest of you shall continue advancing. Upon reaching the next hall, you may start receiving the inheritance. Duandong River looked at Luo Feng and the other 299 candidates, then pointed to somewhere far away. A loud rumble sounded, and a faraway floodgate that was originally shut started to rise. Even from where Luo Feng stood, he could faintly see the hall at the other end. Go on. Duandong River transformed into a streak of light, and with a flash, he arrived at the faraway hall. Luo Feng, Blue Blood Knight, Deer Bug Master, Sorcerer Sprite Master, Water Song Master, Remote Snow, Yuzon Master, and the 7 Universe Supreme Masters, as well as a large group of candidates who managed to pass the 1st bottleneck, all flew toward the next hall. Virtual Universe. Numerous stone pillars with their 3-dimensional virtual shadows could be found. Luo Feng was seated cross-legged, but he had already stopped comprehending. Because he was about to start getting in contact with the inheritance, he did not dare get distracted. The 3 great eras. The man in white robes stood before a stone pillar. With a smile, he nodded. At least I made it before the 3 great eras. I shall stop my decoding here. The 6002nd stage. The man in white robes laughed lightly and shook his head. This video will end here.